the last hope for MMORPGs.
Being a fan of MMORPGs over the past decade has been quite a long road of disappointment. We've had Kickstarter scams, we've watched as monetization has single-handedly ruined otherwise promising games, and we've had multiple exciting projects be cancelled.
Which, by the way, they're redoing the MMO project for Lord of the Rings. Amazon is.
Remain in a state of perpetual development with no hope of ever releasing. Well, unfortunately, the latest disappointment comes in the form of an MMO that many were hoping would reinvigorate the genre.
Is this Throne
the
of Liberty?
Riot MMO.
Oh, yeah.
A game that everyone was excited for, based purely on Riot Games' track record of never releasing.
This is the same with every MMO. It is the MMO hype paradox. The less people know about a game, the more they're excited. The more people know about a game, the less they're excited.
Releasing an unsuccessful product has basically gone back to the drawing board. We never had any concrete info about what this MMO was actually looking like or saw any footage, yet alongside Ashes of Creation, this was one of the most hyped upcoming MMOs. Thankfully though, Ashes of Creation is still progressing quite nicely, and we've seen some huge improvements to the combat showcased over the past few development
It's definitely gotten a lot better.
As usual in this video, I'll break down the past 4 months worth of updates to keep the casuals up to date with Ashes' progress, who don't have time to tune into the 2 to 3 hour live streams every month. In case you missed it, Ashes of Creation...
I think also, like, the problem right now is that a lot of MMOs try to create an experience that people had 20 years ago, and you can't do that. And I don't think that anybody has figured out what the formula for creating the MMO that in 20 years from now, people will try to recreate that experience. That's the problem, is people keep looking to the past to decide where to go in the future.
Alpha 2 will be playable in Q3 of this year, so there might only be one more of these update videos from me until we have some actual gameplay to experience.
We'll see what happens.
But for a special MMO, you're going to want a special PC. A PC capable of handling Ashes of Creation's epic large-scale battles, particle effects everywhere, tons of players on screen, and the latest Unreal Engine 5 graphics whilst running at a smooth frame rate. This is why I've ordered a new gaming PC from today's sponsor, Starforge Systems. Do I really want...
I'm gonna be honest, I legit did not even know we sponsored him. That's crazy. Because I was thinking, like, like leading up to this, I was like, is this gonna be awkward if it's like another sponsor? No, actually did.
To be in a situation where I'm dueling another player to impress some hot e-girl on Discord, only to die because of bad frame rate? Fuck no. And with my brand new Voyager 2 Elite, I'll never have to blame my failures on frame rate
That's
again.
the ones I have too.
If I die, it's 100% only because I was lagging.
He got a different panel
Starforge have PCs available for multiple different levels, all hand-built by professional nerds in Austin, Texas. At entry level, you've got the Horizon series, which are perfect for the everyday gamer. Next up, you've got the Navigator PCs for the more serious gamers, packed with next-gen components and ready to withstand the abuse of your multi-day Cheeto-fueled gaming binges. And finally, for the people like me who make gaming their entire identity, you've got the Voyager PCs, which are so powerful you're basically future-proof for many years to come. Perfect for enthusiasts and content creators. Additionally, if you're not looking to upgrade your entire PC yet, Starforge also offer custom cases and plate lights, so you can add a bit more personality to an otherwise bland-looking rig. Click the link in the description below to check out Starforge's epic lineup of gaming PCs now, and be ready to experience the next generation of gaming without compromising performance.
There it is. So wow, what a great ad. So true. Completely agree. Absolutely.
We covered the August, September, October, and November updates, which showcased progress to the village nodes, the event system, the caravan system, and artisan skills. Starting out with December's livestream, which takes place in a winter-themed Riverlands. The focus here was the updated Ranger combat, which has come a long way. As you can see, we've got 2 full hotbars of abilities, which shows that class design is well on its way to being ready for Alpha 2. To keep this as concise as possible, I'll start by showing each ability along with its tooltip so you can just see what it does rather than rambling. First up, we have Snipe, a solid opener ability.
Is like... I feel like this does look very good. Like, I think this definitely passes the check. The problem is, like, in order for another game to be, like, as big as WoW was back in the day, it effectively has to be better than that. Because I don't think people respected... Like, you think about going back and playing classic WoW right now, Think about how well Classic WoW plays. And then think about what that was like in 2004. It was just so far above anything else on the market that it wasn't even close. Like it wasn't even like one step above everything else. It was like 5 steps above everything else. Like every other game was just garbage compared to that. I literally couldn't play on other games after playing WoW. Yeah, Guild Wars was close. No, it wasn't. Guild Wars was terrible. Guild Wars was awful. It was not even remotely close. You couldn't even jump in Guild Wars.
Next, the weapon basic attacks. Barrage.
Yeah, this does look good. We're at a gaming plateau. Yeah, until somebody figures out a better way of doing things.
Ranged executability that has cooldown reduction applied to it if the target is marked. Mark of the Bear. Mark of the Raven.
Yeah, and as I've said, I do still think Classic WoW is probably the best MMO.
The Tiger.
In my opinion.
Next, we're given an overview of the hunt abilities, which are basically range of self-buffs, starting with Hunt of the Bear, Hunt of the Raven, and Hunt of the Tiger.
Yeah, you have like different buffs, everything like that. That looks really good. I like that a lot.
Optional charge capability for a more highly focused shot.
Yeah, that's what they did with Evoker.
Airstrike. Not only does this provide AoE crowd control and damage, but the mobility and animation on this one is amazing.
Yep.
Additionally, it can also be used to traverse gaps and verticality. Easily my favourite ranged ability showcased so far. Next,
yeah, like I really like being able to do stuff like that because, like, for example, in Elden Ring, you can do that with the Millennia weapon art too, and so yeah, having anything like that is great for a game.
Shots.
Would you develop an MMO? Would I ever develop an MMO?
Lightning Reload, which is a self buff that allows you to use select abilities with no cooldown.
I don't know what the next game is supposed to be. I don't know what it is yet. I think there's a few games that have come out that I think capture like one dimension of it, but I'm not sure that I know what it is yet. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like a video got recently, the dude said you had to be an idiot to make an MMO. I think the problem right now with MMOs is that it's actually a problem with the way that things are programmed, and it's a problem with the way that computing is right now. Because it seems like with things like quantum computing, for the best of my understanding, which is limited, of course, we will not have to worry about a lot of the technological limitations that we have right now in maybe 15 or 20 years, probably even sooner than that. So the big problem that MMOs have is monetization. That's probably their biggest issue, and a lot of the other issues happen as a result of that issue. Like things feeling not rewarding is an issue of monetization. Things taking too long, like Lost Ark, is a result of monetization. So oftentimes monetization may not be like the direct cause, but it's the secondary cause of like something that is the direct cause. So you're not getting a quantum PC at home? Yes, but the quality will improve over time. That's what I'm saying, right? The quality will improve. Look at Unreal 5. Unreal 5, I think, is the best proof of that happening. So I think the issue right now is that it is too expensive to create an MMO at the scale and scope that people want it in. And the cost of making an MMO is so high that it necessitates doing things that destroy the game's integrity. I don't think that you will ever have a super successful MMO that is even half as popular as Classic WoW was, like Vanilla WoW in like 2007. You will never have a game like that whenever the game's pay to win or pay for convenience or anything. It's just not going to happen.
Bear Trap.
Computers aren't good at doing things. I was just using it as an example, right?
Call of the Wild.
I'm saying like technology is getting very good at performance optimization, like DLSS, Unreal 5, etc.
Disengage.
It's undeniable that quality is improved and performance is massively better.
And finally, you've got the imbued ammo abilities, which come in 3 types: weighted, barbed, and concussive. 3 different self-buffs that imbues your next 10 shots with the various effects displayed on screen.
Yeah, this looks good.
Overall, the reaction to the updated Ranger combat was received very positively by the Ashes community. For me personally, I was especially a fan of the fluidity of the 2 mobility abilities, Airstrike and Disengage, as well as the basic...
I'm a firm believer that if a game doesn't have super buttery smooth combat, like Fortnite, for example, Fortnite's gameplay is fucking amazing. Overwatch's gameplay used to be fucking amazing. Like, it's so fluid, it's so responsive, and it's so good. You have to have that. And if a game doesn't have that, it will never be a big game.
Attacks
just feels like shit.
Much quicker than I expected.
Feels like shit.
I also like that the mark abilities are off the GCD, and I think the visual effects so
Halo
far
3,
look pretty good
for
this stage of development. Aside from the combat, we also got a look at the ranger skill tree and weapon skill tree, which further augments how your abilities work. I won't go into details on this, as it will likely change with balancing.
Yeah, I saw
this
already.
Should give you a decent idea of how you can change your abilities to suit
WoW was also really
style.
smooth. It was beyond smooth.
After the ability overview, the livestream concluded
it put everything
with
else
some
in the
gameplay
dirt.
of the Ranger in action, as well as the usual art showcase, which I'll flash on screen now.
This looks amazing. How far are we from launch? Realistically, the game will probably go into an open beta at the end of the year, and then it will probably come out in 2027, I assume, if I had to guess.
And that was pretty much it for the December 2023 update. Overall, a great update to end
probably
the year.
end of 2027.
2024 started off with an absolute
That's what I
banger
think
of
will
a
happen.
development live stream that showcased Ashes of Creation's Caravan PvP system. Starting out, Steven has his raid group make their way to a viewpoint where they
this was really cool. And this goes back to what I was saying, that like MMOs should look at isekai animes, like Solo Leveling, Sword Art Online, Overlord, etc., and then figure out what is it and like what are the plot devices in those stories and how can we make them real. Because those are some of the most popular animes. People fucking love them. Shangri-La Frontier, yeah, there's another one. How can you make that experience happen in real life? Or not real life, but like in real life in a real game.
Wait, ready to ambush a passing caravan protected by another raid group. The
Full dive
caravan
ammo.
approached,
Yeah, exactly.
then battle ensues.
Oh my god. Oh, it's bloodshed.
Yeah, the problem is that... See, here's still the problem, is that this combat isn't good. It's better, but it's not good. Classic WoW is still way better than this. And that came out in 2004. That's just the way it is. And again, I don't think people respect how far and above Classic WoW was over everything. It was not even funny. It's like Classic WoW was like whenever Apple introduced like the iPod or the iPhone. It was so far above every single thing in the market that it took everybody else multiple years to catch up. And even then, they didn't really catch up all the way. They just completely blew everybody else out. Do you think tab targeting is the future? I think a soft lock target is the future, but aimed attacks should be available.
Once the players are slain, the raid then turn their focus
like,
towards
you should have
damaging
both.
the caravan,
like lock
which
on and skill
gets
shots.
Destroyed, catches fire, and the crates of loot carried by the caravan are then scattered around the area. A victory icon then pops up on the UI and instructs the raid to pillage their loot. At this point, you're able to see that the type of contents in the crates is displayed with an icon on top of the crate. Some crates contain commodities, some contain materials. Steven approaches a green marked crate, presses E, and is able to open the crate to loot stolen commodities. These are basically certificates that can be sold to black market vendors for gold. The second type of lootable crate is material, in this instance rubies. Due to the sheer amount of loot though, this is too much for the raid to carry. Additionally, if you manually loot the crates, you get much less money for turning them in compared to if you deliver them via your own caravan. So Steven opens his inventory, clicks on the caravan item, and this begins a countdown for a caravan to be summoned. The length of time you need to wait for this summoning depends on the distance between you and the node your caravan is stored at. Next, the group need to wait around the summoning.
This, by the way, was probably my favorite update recently. Because these social systems are what will keep the game alive or kill it. This is what will keep people continuously playing the game and logging on a regular basis. Like in Overlord, there's a dungeon building, and not only that, it's different species and alignments which help enhance RP. Yeah. I guess it's because whenever something's so good and its category comes out, every product after that tries to be a better imitation of it. Exactly. Yeah. And like WoW did a lot of things like at the time that MMOs did not do, and it was considered bad for MMOs to do. Like, WoW was actually looked down on at the time as being like a baby MMO.
And defend it from attackers. Eventually the caravan arrives, we mount up, approach the cargo, and there's a button appear on the caravan hotbar called Collect Cargo.
Yeah.
Upon clicking this, an AoE circle appears, and you're able to instantly loot the cargo within the radius of the circle into your caravan. The raid then set off, having successfully stolen the cargo from the other raid group into their own caravan, and eventually reach a body of water.
This was really
Here
cool.
we're able to see how a ground caravan is able to convert to a raft after going through a few minutes of building. During this process, you're able to see the details of how the caravan is slowly taken apart.
I think this, by the way, is probably the coolest thing, like with everything. Like, this is really, really awesome. I also think that there needs to be more large bodies of water. Like, this is too narrow of a channel.
Built into a raft to traverse the water. Obviously, it's very vulnerable to attack.
Yeah, I'm just talking about
process,
this. Yeah,
so the raid will
little.
need to be ready to defend it from attackers.
Too small.
Steven's group repels the attackers, defending the caravan. The caravan successfully converts into a raft.
Look at that. That's amazing. That's so good.
And we're able to see it slide down the ramp and splash as it's deployed into the water.
That is so good.
Really nice attention to detail. The raid group swim over to the raft, jump on, and we see this really cool scene of the boys out on the water, freely moving around the raft, wind in the sails, waves generated from the movement of the boat. It all looked super cool. Whilst on the water, it's explained that the game will have a current system with the water similar to Arcade, where your speed will increase if you sail with the current and slow down whilst against
Valheim
it.
is like that
if
too.
If you do nothing, the current will slowly move you along on its own. Current strength will be different depending on the river and the location. After a bit of sailing around, the raid run into an ambush whilst at sea.
Yeah, I think that this is about 20 degrees off of incredible. This experience still feels too gamey to me. What is, in my opinion, one of the best experiences, like an out at sea experience? It's fucking Valheim. Valheim is lit. Holy shit. I don't know exactly how you can get to that with this. But, like, for example, you should have other players able to, like, increase the speed of the boat by rowing the boat or something like that.
But turn around to safety.
Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. Yeah, I heard a lot about that game.
Disembark the raft and convert it back to a land caravan. In doing so, the entire conversion process is repeated, but in reverse, with the raft this time being deconstructed and needing to once again be defended. With the land caravan rebuilt...
I think another thing is that I don't like the concept that if you get knocked off the raft, you can just swim to shore. I think that kind of removes the severity of it. It removes the tension. Like, I don't like how people are following the raft around on the shore and then just running back and forth to the raft. Like, it feels like a game. It doesn't feel like it's an experience. Like, here's another vibe. In Rust, taking off with the massive fucking helicopter with everything in it, everybody is done looting, and making it back to your base. It is all about the experience and the vibe. It is a game, though, but it should try its best not to be.
The group make their way to the node where they're attacked one final time. They successfully defend the caravan, then arrive at the node where the goods are able to be unpacked.
What I'm saying is that the immersion in the game should take you away from the obvious fact that you're playing a game. Whenever you're playing a great game, I think that the game itself is kind of put to the side and you can have a transcendent experience that is fully immersive. And I think that the more elements and more things in a game that function in the same way that real life does, or at least create real life emotions, every single thing like that, like the feeling of tension in a game, you feel tension. It's not like there's video game tension. Tension is an emotional feeling. So if a game makes you feel tension, the game is real. Does that make sense? It sounds weird, but I think it does.
To do this, talk to a caravan master, click caravan storage where all of your goods will be displayed, then you're able to right click on the goods and unpack them into the node cargo storage, which will take a certain period of time during which the materials being unpacked will be temporarily locked. Next, we head over to the commodities vendor and sell those crates directly to the NPC, and finally we head over to a shady back alley room where we're able to sell the stolen commodities that were manually looted to a black market vendor. The black market is however only available should a node choose to unlock it via the node marketplace skill tree progression path. Very brief art update to end the January livestream, and overall it was an update that was received pretty well, although there was a lot of concerns from the community regarding there seemingly not being a whole lot of risk to attacking caravans on the side of the attackers, which sparked quite a bit of debate.
That's a very good point.
We don't have time to get into this in this video, but overall another great showcase where I was particularly impressed with the attention to detail when it came to the animation of converting the caravan to a raft. February's development livestream was an interesting...
Also, like, this is another thing, is that I think players should be able to accelerate the crafting of the boat. And they should do that through different mini-games that the boat construction building or construction area pre-creates. Like, for example, a thing to, like, you know, disassemble the wagon and then carry the wood over to an area where the boat is being assembled. And it will create multiple mini games, and it will progress on its own naturally, but you can do it faster if you're helping them. Like, obviously, like Pal World, right? Or like, I think that's probably the first example I would think of.
One is it was focused around commissions
min-max.
And gave us a good idea of what...
it's not about it being min-max. It's about it being real and authentic, because that's the way it would work in real life. And every single thing that you can do that's the same as in real life adds to that immersion.
Day-to-day solo-oriented gameplay would look like in Ashes of Creation. Starting out, Steven's piloting a mage and heads over to the node commission board. At first glance, this reminded me a lot of New World's town board missions, except with the addition of varying rarity levels for missions, and that's pretty much what they are. Solo content that funnels players into other content and contribute to the progress of story arcs, taking you to areas where events are triggered, and also pick up side quests along the way. We take 2 commissions with objectives relatively close to each other, and along the way are beckoned over by a minotaur, which after some dialogue offers us a side quest to talk to his brother. Find the brother, who then gives us another side quest to kill other minotaur, and after killing a few, an event is spawned where the minotaur leader is summoned.
That looks really nice, by the way. A lot of games are afraid of this type of visual. I'm gonna be honest, guys. Back in the day, this shit was fucking awesome. So, like, there were these fog maps that would happen in PUBG, and you wouldn't be able to see anybody else around you. It was actually, like, really fucking scary. Because you didn't know, like, that's the way the normal game is, right? And then you had rain maps, too, right? This is in the military base. And, like, look at that. Like, you're just looking out into the distance. And you can't really see or tell what the fuck is going on at all. I think a lot of developers are afraid of low visibility areas. I don't think that they should be, but I think that they should be careful with how they design them. Like, a good example of low visibility being good is something like Dragon's Dogma 2. It's something like Valheim at night. It's like the PUBG fog map. I really liked that. Like Blighttown in Dark Souls 1. It doesn't necessarily have to be, like, impossible to see, but it has to be, like, to a degree, oppressive. And I think that fog maps in PUBG are probably the best example of that being, like, really cool to play. I really, really enjoyed doing these a lot. Like, I had some of the best times ever. Like, with me, McConnell, Train, Zach, Esfand, like, playing these maps, and, like, even the rain map, too. It was amazing.
Which also results in a change of the weather to a storm. The storm features weather hazards in the form of lightning bolts, which damage mobs and, as we find out later, can basically one-shot you. Something I found a bit off during this gameplay was how the rain changes direction based on your movement of the camera.
That's the same New World does the same thing. It's because the rain doesn't actually exist. It's like a camera texture effect.
Didn't look good at times.
They can fix that.
The next 20 minutes is basically just doing
they'll be able to fix. That's not a big deal.
In the form of commissions, side quests, and events. Personally, I found this live stream quite hard to watch, as Steven's piloting of the mage didn't make the class look very appealing to play. After completing some of...
It's like Steven sucks. Yeah, it'd be my better, but Steven sucks, so yeah.
Objectives and arriving at a viewpoint, the gameplay section of this live stream ends with the node leveling up, and the beginning of a new story arc which brings with it changes to the area.
Yeah, like the idea of the giant, like, ancient tree burning is really cool, but this animation doesn't look good. Like, it just doesn't look good. Like, I'm trying to think of, like, what is a really, really cool, massive, large-scale event like that that's good. I'm trying to think of, like, something that works that way. But the Erd Tree? Yeah, but, like, that's also skyboxed, right? Like, in most time, it's putting a skybox. Yeah, Elden Ring burning the tree. I think that might be the best one. That tree in Pow World? I don't know.
As usual, a quick look at the art update.
Dragon God and Demon Souls? Almost.
And that was pretty much it for February's development livestream. Overall, I thought this one was kinda mid. I thought the environmental hazards on display were cool, but seeing that mage gameplay with the clicking and backpedaling was really hard to watch. The community reception to this one was quite positive though, with many comments saying things like, it's starting to look like a somewhat finished game.
Yeah.
Q1 2024 ended with
this
an
was really good
banger of a development livestream, this time showing off the updated combat to the fighter class. Similar to what we did with the ranger, I'll just show off each individual ability with the tooltip info on screen to keep things concise. Starting out, we're actually seeing the male orc race in-game for the first time. We get a quick look at the skill tree,
yeah, this is
a short
badass.
explanation of the momentum system, which is essentially rage, if you're familiar with the warrior from World of Warcraft, with some abilities generating momentum and others spending it, starting off with the first ability, Blitz, which is basically your standard warrior charge ability, except this one seems extremely strong in that you can jump.
And also, like, there's a very big component to this. Let me go back. That's a power stance. That's fucking cool. And I think that, like, for example, in Armored Core 6 and in Elden Ring, there are a lot of things that you can do in that game that look really fucking cool. Like, let's take out the idea of, like, oh, how much damage it does or anything like that. Does this look fucking badass? Yes, it does.
Strong in that you can jump and charge vertically to get on top of high ground. Next, Brutal Cleave, which is an AoE cleave ability and momentum builder,
like the,
which shares a cooldown with
Armored Core
Overpower.
6 sword.
Overpower is basically the single target counterpart to Cleave.
The pile driver.
Maim, which is probably my favourite warrior ability, which can be augmented via the skill tree to either be a frontal cone or range shockwave attack. Battle Cry.
Like, basically, you want to have a lot of, like, almost anime motions, but not have them, like, anime, if that makes sense.
Cataclysm, another super impactful.
Like, it doesn't need to be anime for something
AoE.
to feel like anime. Like, Elden Ring feels like anime.
This one reminds me of Bloodseeker's ult from Dota 2. Crippling Blow, basically Hamstring from WoW. Lethal Blow, your execute ability. Something interesting with this, however, is that you can spec it so that 50% of your overkill damage is returned to you as health and mana. Blood Fusion, an off GCD leech buff. Lunging Assault. Leap Strike, basically heroic leap on steroids. This can also be used to traverse verticality and gaps. Next, we've got 3 different forms, which are basically stances.
Yeah, I think that warriors should have mana, but that shouldn't be the resource they use. Like, for any physical attack, they shouldn't use mana, but there should be, like, a Void Strike or some other type of ability. So, like, this is the fantasy that I go after whenever I think about that. I go after the fantasy of Goblin Slayer being able to use the scrolls in combat as magic spells, even though he's a warrior. I think that's super fucking cool. So I think that mana plays a role, but it should only play like a very small utility role that's not integral to combat.
Ferocity, form of celerity, and form of fluidity. Next we've got Exert, which basically combines the effects of each of your forms into a big spender, where for 5 seconds or so you'll be unstoppable. This also acts as a CC break. Up next we got to look at the weapon skill tree and greatsword basic attack combos, and it's worth remembering that each class in Ashes will be able to use any weapon. You could play as a greatsword wielding mage, for example. It basically just changes your weapon basic attack, and each weapon has its own skill tree. With the ability showcase out of the way, a group was formed and they demonstrated how the warrior looks in group play. During this section, I noticed that you seem to loot mobs individually in Ashes, which looks a bit clunky. Personally, I think it would be much better if they just added the AoE loot option along with auto loot, exactly how it works in World of Warcraft.
Well, we don't have auto loot. I mean, like, Lazy Peon is a BDO player. I know he used to be, at least. And, I think that looting should feel cool, but it's also, like, it's very hard for looting to avoid being annoying. Like, I never get manual loot. Yeah, like, I kind of like the idea of having to manually loot things, but, like, with an AoE loot. But at the same time, maybe auto loot would be better. I like, if I had to decide, or, like, I had to say, like, which side of the fence, I'd say you should have to manually loot, because that's what makes sense, and having pets loot things for you is kind of cheesy, in my opinion. I think it's, like, cheesy, like, gameplay. So, yeah, I'm not sure.
It's not broken, don't fix it.
I don't want to press more buttons.
During this section, we also got to look at some destructible environments.
Well, like, have you ever thought that maybe the actual problem is the fact that you have to loot too many mobs? And looting isn't the problem, it's the frequency of looting that's the issue? Because I think looting, like, for example, in Dark Souls, whenever you kill a mob and it drops something, you know, especially if it's like a Black Knight, it's like, oh, shit, right? Like, is this the item? And so looting, I think, is good, but the reason why is because you're not killing Black Knights all the time. Monster Hunter looting. Yeah, exactly. So I think it's just, it should be designed in a better way.
And
no,
eventually
it's
they
cool to
kill
kill
a
a lot of
boss,
things.
complete some objectives,
yeah.
And that was pretty much
said
it
AoE
for the
looting is
gameplay
okay.
section of this live stream. Overall, I really like the direction they're going with the fighter class.
Yeah, I do too.
And it's looking like a strong contender for my main at release.
Yeah.
The only real critique I have is that some of the abilities look like they're skipping frames, so perhaps some improvements to the animations. But other than that, the combat showcased here actually looked really good. Here's the usual art update.
I want to go back and look at that one
really
again.
Really good. Here's the usual art update.
That looks really nice. That is amazing. How do you feel about things like New World chests? Jesus, I don't know. Because I like chest runs in New World a lot.
And at the end of the live
is that,
stream,
like, really good game
that Intrepid
design?
Studios is currently going through a bit of a hiring process. So
Yeah,
if you're
I don't
someone
know.
that works in the gaming industry, then check out their website for open positions, so you can help bring about this MMO's release before the end of the decade. To summarise my thoughts on all of these updates, it's a night and day difference with how Ashes is looking now compared to Alpha 1. The game is starting to look very playable
true.
now, and I'm even starting to think that the combat is looking decent.
The combat has improved a lot. I think that one thing that, if anybody has kept up with Ashes of Creation, even if you are a non-believer, I think it's fair to say that the game has improved a lot from where it started.
More polished, this could have the potential to be one of the best hybrid combat systems
in
the
and
genre.
it is getting a lot
Things
better.
I don't like that could be improved. The looting looks clunky, animations need to be smoother, and the lighting as a whole could be improved, as in some places it makes the visuals look kinda rough. For example, the scene at the end of the Commission's live stream from the viewpoint.
Well, that's just, again, like, that goes back to what I was saying about how, like, Elden Ring, like, if you go down and you look at, where are we at? We're at 1840. If you look at the visual fidelity of...
really good. Here's the usual art update.
The visual fidelity of this is higher than things in Elden Ring. Like, in terms of the level of detail and the amount of pixels that are in this, I'm, like, 99% sure this is better than Elden Ring. But it doesn't matter. Because it's not about the pixel count. It's not about anything else. It's about the lighting, and it's about the design and the style. Yeah, it's the art style and the lighting. Yeah, like Elden Ring. Like, imagine if this had the lighting of Elden Ring. It would look fucking amazing.
Of the commission's live stream from the viewpoint. I can't believe it's been almost 3 years since I last played Ashes of Creation in Alpha 1. 7 years since I first covered this project. Ashes of Creation is truly my last hope for the MMO genre. I suppose PAX Day looks decent, but everything else looks either mid or is guaranteed to be pay to win due to Korean developers.
I'll be honest, I don't know. Like, I mean, if Ashes of Creation can't do it, I don't think any other game can do it. But I'm not confident for any MMO in the entire marketplace to be able to do anything more than be. I don't think any single MMO will even be 10% as relevant or culturally impactful as Classic WoW, like vanilla World of Warcraft was. Not even 10%. I don't think OSRS is even remotely close. Like, for everybody who says these other games, Wrath and TBC, I don't think that you guys respect how big WoW used to be. I talked about this a couple of days ago. World of Warcraft used to be bigger than Fortnite and Minecraft. Go on to Google Trends, look up these different games, compare them to Fortnite and Minecraft now. They're nothing. They're nothing. They used to be, yeah. I don't think people respect how big WoW used to be. It was a completely different level.
Let's just hope nothing unexpected happens that would cause this game to not make it to completion. But that's it for this video. As always, let me know your thoughts on the development progress of Ashes of Creation in the comments below. Stephen does often read comments on videos like this, so he'll likely see your feedback. Help us out with a like for the algorithm gods if you enjoy these update vids, and click the link in the description below to get yourself a Starforge PC, because you'll probably need one to run this game with maxed out graphics. Social media on screen, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
That was a great video.
Big and tasty.
Like, I'm going to be honest, like, I think that MMOs right now, we are in a transitionary period of technology and a transitionary period of, like, the way that people can play games. And because we're in that period, I think that nobody knows what to do going forward. There's nothing revolutionary. Yeah, exactly. Weren't we always? In a way, yeah, but I think that now it's especially true. I think there's got to be some extra level of, like, complexity or nuance to MMOs in order to make them, like, transcendent again. Yeah, this doesn't seem revolutionary. Yeah, exactly. Whereas, like, WoW was revolutionary, Minecraft was revolutionary, like, Grand Theft Auto was revolutionary, like, even to a lesser extent, Halo was revolutionary, I would say. Those are some of the big ones, right? Skyrim. Maybe Super Mario Brothers 3, in my opinion, I think was revolutionary. And maybe even Super Mario Brothers 3 wasn't. It was just like Elden Ring, where it wasn't like nothing about this was revolutionary. It was just so fucking good. Like, I think that also people say Baldur's Gate. I think Baldur's Gate 3 might be looked at that way. Mario 64, that's a really great example. Mario 64 was revolutionary. Absolutely. I'll link you guys the video. Make sure to give it a like. I'm really glad to see more people talking about this, but I think that every MMO, like, I just don't think it's possible right now. Like, that's like kind of the result, and like that's the way I feel about it right now. Is it's just like the game, it's not quite there yet. You want something that is WoW? Yes, I want something that has the same level of, like, relevance and significance as like vanilla WoW. And I think that right now none of the games really can do that. And I don't think that even Ashes of Creation will do it. I don't know what will. With WoW's become the biggest MMO, do you believe Ashes of Creation can be bigger than that? What's missing? I don't know. Nobody does. That's the thing. Nobody does. But I'm still very excited for Ashes of Creation. You know, I definitely am. I don't want you guys to think that I'm not.